Hello, one and all, it's my view of My Hero Academia, Chapter 320, Deku vs. Class A. And I just gotta say, this is probably my favorite chapters in this entire series. I mean, seriously, one of the best things about My Hero Academia has always been the cast. Back in Chapter 5 or 6 or whenever we first met Class 1A, we were introduced to 20 characters all at once, and yet despite that, they were all so unique in appearance and personality and quirk that they were immediately recognizable, immediately memorable. And while it's true they all haven't had their own arc, they've all had a chance to shine at one point or another, a chance to recognize their own weaknesses and work to improve them. I mean, first off, we have Koda, who, beginning of the series, could barely control a few birds at once. Now he's controlling an entire freaking swarm of them. And, back then he'd always whisper, like, hey, buds, can you help me on this? Hey, I need your help on this. Now he's willing to fully scream at the top of his lungs for all to hear that he needs Deku to come back with him, come back to the school. Deku can stop running away. And, oh, I love that. I freaking love that. And then the next page, we have Sero, who is the one who actually taught Deku how to use his black whips properly, and he's able to stop Deku from getting away using his own black whips, which, oh, that's ironic. That's very, very ironic. But, Sero is the master, and no matter how skilled Deku is, he's never going to be as skilled as the guy who's literally had this quirk for his entire life. Then we have Jiro, who is just so overwhelmingly appreciative of what Deku did for helping her organize notes during the school festival to make sure that the music, the band, the performance they did would be so memorable, so utterly, utterly amazing, and she wants to pay him back for that by, using her heartbeat to blast him with sound, which, it's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts. Then Ojiro shows up and does a tornado tail dance to capture Deku, and reminds him how during the sports festival, Deku got mad in his behalf, and how, Deku has always been there for Class 1A, has always viewed them so highly, and so how can Ojiro stand behind? How can Ojiro just let Deku out on his own? How can Ojiro just let Deku try and sacrifice himself for the sake of them? And while his tail is certainly strong, it is not nearly enough to restrain Deku, who looks like a freaking demon here as he explains that he can't let the rest of them get involved in it. He can't let the rest of them get hurt because of him. And he remembers how Aizawa, Gran Torino, and Bakugo all got injured, all nearly died because they were there, because they were involved in the battle against All For One. And then Sato shows up, and his line is probably one of my favorites in the entire chapter. If not, I'm never letting you food dye for Aries candy apples ever again, which, oh, I love it. I freaking love it. I mean, Sato hasn't done much this series. He hasn't really grown all much. He hasn't been in too many chapters. He's never really been the focus of attention. But the one thing that's very, very memorable about him is that he helped Deku make the candy apples for Eri. And that's, I love that that's, what he brings to the table here. I love that that is his connection to Deku. But the next line is, oh my god, it is so small. It is so seemingly insignificant. But it just utterly, utterly breaks my heart. That's just fine. Eri doesn't need me. It doesn't have to be me. Oh my god, Deku. Oh my freaking god. Yes. Yes, it does. It does have to be you. I mean, Deku seems to have almost no value for his own life here, and that's nothing new. But he seems to think, if I die here, if I die fighting All For One, then my friends can still be happy without me. They can go on living. Eri can go on living. My mom can go on living, even though I'm dead. And that's just not the case. If he dies in this war, his classmates, Eri, his mom, All Might, Endeavor, Best Genius, Hawks, they will all always blame themselves for it. They will never be able to truly smile again. They will always be miserable for literally the rest of their lives. And just Deku not realizing that, Deku not realizing the value his own life has. It's sad. It is so, so sad. And then Momo has apparently built a machine that can put Deku to sleep, which just, seriously, Momo? That is your brilliant idea here? That's the best way you can think to use your quirk in this battle? I mean, seriously, the machine needs to keep Deku restrained while lowering a helmet onto his head. It just feels stupid. Really, really stupid. Obviously, it doesn't work. Just, I feel like there are better ways you could use your quirk in this battle. Like maybe just creating a sleeping powder and spread it throughout the air so that Deku falls asleep. I mean, you will fall asleep as well, but Deku will be asleep. The other classmates are outside. They need to come in and bring both of you back to campus. It just seems like a really, really dumb idea, basically. I mean, their next move is definitely better. Kaminari gets close to Deku to electrocute him. Shoji wraps them in his tentacles, which are covered in insulating tape created by Momo. And the whole thing is wrapped up by Tokoyami in his dark shadow, Ragnarok Womb. That's clearly a much, much better plan, and Deku would have a much, much harder time breaking out of it. I also do love that the idea of using Dark Shadow as defense was first invented by Deku during the sports festival when he teamed up with Tokoyami. Oh, that was nice. That was a nice callback right there. And then just Kaminari comments how Deku really, really needs a bath, and, that might sound insensitive, but let's not forget, currently, Kaminari is pressed real close against Deku in a soundproof, smell-proof barrier, so, yeah, he's really getting the full Deku experience right now. He's fully smelling Deku, and it cannot be pleasant. It cannot be pleasant right now. But as it turns out, even that was not enough to fully restrain Deku, even though it was apparently enough to give All Might a scare, which, yeah, so Deku is stronger than All Might. Deku is stronger than All Might. That's so terrifying right now. And I do just love how absolutely upset Dark Shadow seems to be about the fact that Deku broke free. Like, he's almost saying, I'm so sorry, I should have done better, I should have tried harder. Oh god, it's little details like that that really make me love this series. And Deku is well aware of the fact that his classmates aren't mad at him. If they were angry at him, if they were here with malice, if they were here to hurt him, then Danger Sense would have gone off, but it's not. And as a result, they can keep landing surprise attack after surprise attack on him. And he just, oh god, as he's just crying and saying, I'm begging you, I'm fine, I'm fine. He is not fine at all. But thankfully, Shoto is able to restrain him with his heaven-piercing ice wall. And I know I've asked this before, but seriously, what happens when this thing melts? Because this thing is, the size of freaking skyscraper. If it melts all at once, then, it'll completely and utterly flood this town. So, weird. Very, very weird. I'm not actually sure about that. I mean, where's actually the liquid from this coming from? Is it coming from the air? Because, I feel like that would completely and utterly dry out the surrounding air. It would literally suck out rain clouds to be this large, just overwhelmingly massive. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. And it calls out Deku for keeping the burden to himself, just like Shoto did when he was so angry with his father, so unable to move past it. And Deku convinced him to be a real hero, to fight with his full heart. And then Froppy shows up. Yay, Froppy! Oh, I love her. I love you so freaking much. I also do love the color page at the beginning of this chapter, because she just looks so utterly amazing in it. But even here now, she calls back to what she said after Deku went to save Bakugo when he was kidnapped by League of Villains, She was so angry at them for going after him, and then afterwards she felt just so overwhelmingly upset about her words, how she wasn't able to fully stop them, wasn't able to fully convince them, and just wanted to make things right with them. But now, she's not crying. She's willing to stand up. She's willing to fight against Deku to stop him, to make sure that he doesn't go down the wrong path again. Saying if you're so dead set on being some comic book superhero, then Class A won't let you live that fantasy alone. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. Oh god, I love this chapter. Seriously, like I said, almost everyone in Class 1A had a chance to really shine. Though it is certainly interesting that not everyone did, because there are a few holdouts, a few characters who would not appear in this chapter at all, and I find that very, very interesting. I mean, first off, in Seat 1, there's Aoyama, who, isn't particularly close to Deku, but they had that really meaningful conversation at some point in the series. I can't actually remember when that was, but, they talked about what it was like to have a quirk that constantly damaged your own body. So I feel like, he'd be very relevant here, very poignant to have a conversation with Deku. Then there's Mina, who, not really sure about her. Seriously, has she ever really talked to Deku in the series? I mean, I know she did when she fired him from the dance team, but that's all I can really think of right now. I'm curious. Obviously, Ida and Uraka are, Deku's closest friends in Class 1A, besides Bakugo, but that's a whole other story. So they would really, want to stand out, really want to do something, really want to stop Deku. I'm so convinced that before this is over, Uraka's going to slap Deku, and I so want to see that again. Oh, can't wait for that. I mean, she really shined last chapter when she went to the principal to, trap the #1 hero, so I feel like she's going to be a big part in whatever comes next. Ida, he's president of the class, so not really sure what his role is going to be, but I'm convinced that he's going to find a way to restrain Deku, convince him not to go. Oh, actually, I think that Ida and Deku, very, very close bond, because Deku stopped Ida from, going down the path of villainry and trying to become a vigilante, trying to murder Stain, which is kind of similar to what Deku's doing right now, being a rogue vigilante, going out his own without any backup help from his friends. So, okay, yeah, Ida could certainly say something here, and I really hope he does. Kirishima wasn't in this chapter either, which I find interesting. I mean, he is, all about being manly and tough, so I could certainly see him saying something to Deku like, it's not being manly to throw your friends away. A real man knows when to ask for help, which, actually, I could really literally see that being his line next chapter. That'd be interesting. Going down the list. Invisible Girl! We still have not seen Invisible Girl. I mean, we've never actually seen Invisible Girl, but still, where exactly is she? I mean, she is, literally invisible, so she could definitely be helpful in this fight, being able to, somehow find a way to get close to Deku, to inject him with a sleeping drug, or attack him behind, or something like that. I mean, she might actually end up being the UA traitor, because she is just so utterly perfect at blending in, at being forgotten. So much so, I think the authors even said that he's forgotten about her from time to time. I can't actually remember any point in the series where she's spoken to Deku, so I'm not sure exactly what she'd say here, but like I said, she'd be very helpful for landing a sneak attack on him. Mineta has sticky balls. I mean, those are very helpful. I think in one of the OVAs, he was even able to use those to restrain All Might. So, yeah, you could certainly find a way to capture Deku using those. But as for what he'd actually say to Deku, I mean, I'm assuming something utterly pathetic and just disgusting and sexist, but I'm not sure about that. I'm really, really not sure about that. I'm curious, though. Very curious. And finally, there's Bako, Deku's best friend. Deku's oldest friend? Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds better. I mean, he and Deku definitely had words at the start of this chapter, at the end of last chapter. But I definitely don't think it's over. I feel like Bako and Deku are going to be how this fight ends, more or less. Just both of them so exhausted they can't even use their quirks and just, brawling in the streets, punching left and right, back and forth, again and again, until they can barely stand up, and then they both black out. They both pass out at the exact same time, falling to the ground. Oh, I love it. That's how this fight ends. I absolutely love it. That's how this fight is going to end. Also do love his comment how Deku is even drawn differently now, which, yes, he is. He is literally like a character out of a different series right now, but I just absolutely love his demonic evil look, and I can't freaking wait to see that animated fully. It's also something interesting that they're aware of the fact that Deku's acquired the quirks of the 4th and 6th users. They know to plan for that in their strategy. I mean, the 6th user smoke screen is easily able to be dispersed by Bakugo's landmine blast, but I'm kind of curious if maybe the reason Bakugo isn't going after Deku, the reason why he's letting the other classmates do it, is because Bakugo does actually have some animosity towards Deku. And, the 4th quirk, the danger sense, would pick up, Bakugo's coming towards you! Run, you fool! Run! That'd be interesting. That'd actually be really interesting if that's, went into their strategy and they're planning for all this. Oh, yeah, and I actually just realized now that Kirishima is in fact in this chapter. I didn't see him because he was in the smoke screen, but he is there. Sorry about that. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this chapter. Like I said, there's still a lot of members of Class 1A left who can show up to have their own little words Deku, say how annoyed they are with him, to give their own piece about why Deku needs to come back, and, just use their quirks to slow him down, eventually find a way to stop him. I really do think it's eventually come down to Bakugo and Deku just having, an utter slug match, punching back and forth until eventually they both pass out. I would so love to see that. Though, I just actually remember now, Shinzo, I mean, he's not really technically a member of Class 1A or Class 1B yet, but he was promised a spot in the class, so he could definitely show up. He could definitely be the one that stops Deku. I mean, let's not forget that he stopped Deku now twice in the past, so that would make a lot of sense. All things come in threes, as they say. There's a question whether or not, his brainwashing would work on Deku now that he has, the other 8 personalities inside of him, but I'd say it still would, because the other 8 are going to realize, yeah, Deku, you need a rest, you need a break, you need to stop before you kill yourself, so we're just going to let you get brainwashed. But everything else down below, who else in Class 1A is going to show up? What are they going to do? What are they going to say? How are their quirks going to slow them down? What combo moves are they going to pull off? Because I really did love what Shoji, Momo, Kaminari, Dark Shadow all managed to do together, the Ragnarok womb, to restrain Deku, but I'm curious how the rest are going to do this. Deku is technically trapped now. He is technically in the ice, but like I said, I really don't think this is the end of the fight. I really think everyone else needs to say their piece before Deku, is brought down. But anything else down below, be sure to like, check out the next video. Until then, peace!